So this morning I'm gonna be finishing off all of my Conlon Nancarrow scores with this manuscript of study number 10. This is apparently the last player piano study that Nancarrow wrote that was influenced by jazz. So far, I find a lot of the studies we've looked at aren't particularly jazzy. They like have a sort of tonal aspect to them, but I don't know. It's a kind of a dubious like designation in my opinion, but this is sort of the end of his early studies, the studies he wrote between 1951 and 1960. This one we have this swing notation again, where the tilde note head always means five subdivisions of the beat, and it's usually used in combination with another rhythm that represents three subdivisions of the beat. So it's like 8 plus 3. Yeah, just scrolling through, there seems to be one voice that has three notes at a time that is sustained, and this is sort of the bass line, and it's much slower than the other two melodic voices. I'm assuming more and more fast voices are going to be added here. But this sort of arrangement of accompaniment and melodies is a bit more conservative than studies 7 and 9. So maybe this is a bit of a return to his jazz influence stuff. We'll see here. The recording's in the video description, and I'll see you in a few minutes here. Nice. So I think this is definitely the last study of the 45 that references jazz idioms and ideas. It has some swing rhythm stuff. It's actually quite slow um, compared to the other ones. And I didn't realize this, but sort of the main rhythmic idea, which distinguishes this from the other studies we've looked at, is this sort of like acceleration and deceleration, but it's written out with note values rather than actually changing the tempo gradually. We haven't seen that yet in any of his studies. So yeah, the tempo's static, and then you have this like sort of metered, like exponential delay rhythm stuff almost, with the main theme, and it sort of broke the bass line sort of breaks it up into two major sections. Like the first half of the piece has the long held tones, then you get the staccato chords in the bass, and then at the very end you get like quarter notes in the bass, so it's like holding a little bit. Okay, so study number 2 was the first one we started with. I know this one has a orchestration, like an orchestral version by composer James Tenney, which is like when I listened to it was much better than the study, like much more effective. So I think that loses points. It has like some polytempo stuff, but a lot of other studies do it better. So I'm gonna give this a C. And yeah, then study number 3, the Boogie Woogie Suite. I think when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is an S tier one. It's like the one everybody has to know. Um, I think its most charming like aspect is just the concept of it. Like it's really a fun concept, and it's the most like unabashedly jazz influenced of the early ones that we had. But it's not like every movement hits, the first and fifth movement of the suite are really good. The middle three I'm not super interested in, so I'm gonna give it A. And then we got study number 4 was like the weird three voice counterpoint one that didn't really have a bass line. It felt kind of like something that any student could do if they understood counterpoint well enough. So I think that's going to be a high D or low C. And then study number 5. was the one that was laid out kind of like a orchestral score, and it's the one that just is a constant build all the way through. S tier. I love that. That's one I would recommend and listen to. Six is not. Oh yeah, six is the catchy one, which is just like maybe the poster child for this. I'd say A. It's not really the most representative of this body of work, but it's kind of cute and I like it. So seven is another S tier. That's like the most substantial piece we heard in this series. 7 minutes long. Some people compare it to a sonata form. I think it's more like a theme and variations ish thing with rondo stuff going on. It's the most sophisticated formally, and it's also just got a really good theme. So I'm just gonna go with S tier for seven. It's actually better than the fifth one, so I'll put it here. Then we skipped eight, we went to the ninth one. Uh, I think the ninth is it's like a layered sort of textural one, but it doesn't do it as best as it could. I think it'll be our first B. And then the one we listened to today, not particularly memorable. Like I know that it is the last jazz one, but I think it's also going to be B tier. So those are my rankings. If you're going to recommend any of these to students or peers or just people, recommend number three to the people who don't know anything about new music, people who are studying this stuff. Listen to number seven. That's definitely the best out of the early um, player piano studies. I was surprised how different each study was. He really is very inventive with these. And I always thought of this body of work as like very prolific, but now that I'm getting into it and I'm thinking like he was averaging about one of these a year for the first 10 years he was making them. It was actually probably very laborious and he didn't it, I think at this point in the studies he wasn't really leaning into the player piano so much. He was just trying to write music that he would like acoustic players to do, but he didn't have any players around him who could do it. So in that sense, this it's kind of an interesting little body of work, and I think a lot of these early ones are playable for sure. So yeah, if you are super interested by this, I think you should look at the Henry Cowell New Musical Resources book because I think that's like the primary source that Nancarrow had for all these ideas. He sort of used that Cowell as a jumping off point. It's also interesting that his education didn't really extend very far. Like he just studied in Boston a little bit, and then what he was able to learn clearly was how to learn. So he just became this sort of self-taught composer from then on, and these studies are really a learning experience for him. So it's definitely something to model yourself after as a composer, I think, is what he was able to do in total isolation or almost total isolation. In a couple days, we're gonna get into a new series. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but it'll be a surprise. So I hope to see you at that episode. Until then, happy listening.